What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Now, I've been an enthusiast for well over 10 years. Well, about 11. Now, sometimes parks are good at teasing rides, sometimes we'll get disappointed, and sometimes the ride will just be leaked before the announcement even starts. But there are very few announcements that everyone just scratches their heads and says, "What? I could have never guessed that." And I think the announcement for Defiance at Glenwood Caverns in Colorado was one of those scenarios. When Gerstlauer said that they were building a record-breaking roller coaster in the United States, this would be the last place I'd expect it. This came right out of the blue and no one saw it coming. I also don't think that this is going to go to an independent park either. Now, I know Ride Entertainment is hyping this up to an extreme extent, so we know this is going to be an absolutely massive investment. And I don't think a tiny park would invest in something so big, so innovative, and for the most part, so risky. I mean, seriously, Glenwood Caverns. I would have guessed some Six Flags parks before I would have guessed Glenwood Caverns. I mean, this is crazy. None of us were seeing this up until last night when the park said that they were announcing something big, and when these smaller parks announce something big, we really don't know what to expect. It could be a brand new show, a brand new restaurant, and on the off chance, it could sometimes be a brand new roller coaster. But something as innovative as this, and something as hyped up as this, yeah, this was extremely hard to predict, and no one would have guessed this beforehand. So, let's get into talking about this ride and how I feel about it. This isn't really going to be an analysis, this is more of a detailed explanation of the ride and my thoughts. Well, I guess that is an analysis, but whatever. And many other people are doing an analysis on this thing because they're equally as shocked as I am, so let's get into my slice of the pizza. Just like the Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger announcement, I think this is a very bittersweet announcement. There are great things about this announcement, and there are bad things about this announcement, but definitely more great than bad, because, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. But let's talk about the good in this announcement. Let's talk about Glenwood Caverns as a whole. When I say that Glenwood Caverns is a small park, that would be an understatement. They're not really mainly focused on roller coasters at all. They are based on top of a hill in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and they have a lot of attractions that go over a cliff or make use of the terrain. And let me say, this park is one of the most beautiful settings in the world. I absolutely love the look of this park, and even though I haven't been to it, I definitely have this on my bucket list. They have a really cool underground drop tower, a world famous S&S Scream and Swing, an alpine coaster, a Tivoli called Wild West Express, and an S&MC Hurricane called Cliffhanger, which is one of the highest coasters above sea level on Earth. Now, all of these are fun in games, but looking at the ride collection and what they have, they don't have that standout roller coaster yet. Now, to the GP, there might be some insane attractions here that interact with the terrain, but nothing to the level of this. For GP and enthusiasts, this will be the thing that brings them all across the world to Glenwood Caverns. I mean, they partnered with USA Today to announce this, so it's a big deal already. This is going to attract the press a lot, and the GP are going to be flung to this park faster than you could say it. This is seriously a really good addition when it comes to Glenwood Caverns. I honestly have been thinking in the back of my mind that this park would do so good with a roller coaster that interacted right with the terrain. And looking at the POV of this, that drop does look a little short, but with that cliff right below it, that is freaky. And let me tell you, with some more advertisements, people from all around the world are going to look at that, see a beyond vertical drop that's over a cliff and think, yeah, I gotta get to Glenwood Caverns. It is going to be a massive tourist attraction, and it's definitely going to satisfy the GP more than enthusiasts. But here's where my honest side comes in. Looking at the layout of the ride, it really isn't that impressive for what we were expecting. Now, this is a very similar reaction to Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger, but whatever. Let me repeat myself, I guess. Right after the first drop, you go into an inverting top hat. Now, this is a very interesting element, I would have to say. This looks like the one on Hang Time where it flips you over upside down after it takes you up a hill. This counts as the first inversion of the ride. After that, it goes into a banana roll. I love these things. They're two inversions and they are great forceful elements. And then after that, you go into what looks like to be a 0G roll or some sort of variant of a 0G winder, and that is the brake run. Now let's be honest, when Gerstlauer announced that they were going to build a record-breaking coaster in the United States, we were expecting something insane, like an American Smiler or the world's steepest drop on a roller coaster. Now what's the record on this ride? It has the steepest free fall drop in the western United States. Now, to explain that a little bit for people that don't get it, it is the steepest drop in the western United States that doesn't have a holding break before the drop. Now you might be looking at Cannibal, but I guess there is a holding break right before the drop. This ride just flings you over. So, we have a roller coaster with a steep beyond vertical drop and 4 inversions. That's what we get, and I guess as enthusiasts we are a little disappointed, but you have to remember, Glenwood Caverns honestly made a good decision here. What would be a better advertising scheme for the general public? A roller coaster that has a few inversions but doesn't interact with the terrain, but a roller coaster that has a massive beyond vertical drop on the side of a mountain. Yeah, thinking about it, it definitely does seem a lot more grand when it advertises as that than the alternative. Plus, they're gonna advertise this as a record-breaking coaster, and yes, it is one heck of a stretch. I mean, this is a record, but at the same time, this reminds me of when Cedar Point does the world's tallest and the world's longest drop, just to add another. The record is definitely a stretch, and we were probably anticipating some world record breaker, but instead we have some other alternative that's a little weird, but whatever, I'll take it. It's better than nothing, and I'm not going to complain like crazy like I initially was going to, but it definitely is a surprise to me, and probably a surprise to all of you. Honestly, just thinking about this, a few months ago, if I went back in time and told myself that it's going to Glenwood Caverns, I wouldn't believe myself. That is some lunacy, and I really did not think it was coming here. I for once thought that King's Dominion was going to get this and the SNS 4D before a park like Glenwood Caverns would. And even last night, I was on a group chat with my friends, and they were all saying it's going to go to this park, and I was like, there's no way. And when I woke up this morning and saw that it was the announcement, well, I was honestly mind blown. So even though I tried to speculate and do many things with that, I still am clueless when it comes to some stuff. And some stuff does still bamboozle me. And this was one of them. Even though that most of my predictions aren't even right in the first place. I like doing a lot of speculation, even though most of the time I'm not right in the end, because it is interesting. Now, the only thing that's awkward, I might have made a couple videos about Cedar Point getting the record-breaking Gerstlauer. Well, I'm glad you viewers enjoyed it while it lasted, but these videos are now outdated. We will talk more about Cedar Point in later videos. I do still have a small feeling that they'll be getting something next year due to IMAscore, but at the same time, it's still a little sketchy. It's already near mid-August, and we haven't heard anything at parks besides King's Dominion, and I guess now Glenwood Caverns. So, what do you think about this edition? Are you disappointed? Are you surprised? I don't think I'm excited or disappointed, I think I'm just surprised. I feel like I'm still in coaster enthusiast shock right now, because I really was not expecting it to come here, and let me just say, this really bamboozled me, and probably bamboozled a lot of you. I can't guarantee that one of you out there could tell me that you thought it was Glenwood Caverns before they announced it last night that it was coming to Glenwood Caverns. Well, this is Cedar Flags. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. This was an improvised video, so don't give me too much crap. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.